Are we ready? The opposite of pleasure is pain. Aries sets out to prove itself through conflict. Why do you think every Aries you know is so spicy? Aries is ruled by the archetype of Mars. That's fighting, deciding, cutting, separation, severance. Venus is about all the opposite things. Mars is so opposite from Venus. In ancient hymns to Mars, Mars is dirty. Venus is clean. So it's like dirty, working, the part of your life that is used to having things brought to it, that operates on magnetism. Roll up her sleeves, she'll have to become Rosie the Riveter. Just like, why is this beautiful, sweet woman underneath a car and her face is all dirty? Venus operates through accord, togetherness. The Aries version of Mars is about being seen, specifically through conflict. Aries is ruled by Mars. It's about being seen, fighting, and winning, hopefully. It's like the general who wins the war and becomes the emperor. Aries is that thing they say about your first day in prison, how you're supposed to go up to the meanest, scariest looking person and punch them right in the face. Think about the Botticelli Venus, the beautiful Renaissance painting of Venus standing in the shell, the birth of Venus. She has to go up to the scariest person and punch that person in the face. In the astrological system, Venus is traditionally considered in detriment in Aries. She doesn't have the resources. So it's going to be harder for everyone to get along. And given what's going on in the world, this is when the war starts. Neptune moves into Aries while Venus is retrograde. Neptune moves into Aries March 30th. So Neptune has been in Pisces for the past like 12 or 13 years. We're going to romanticize war. We're going to be our ultimate best selves. And we're going to romanticize competition and crime. And it begins with this Venus retrograde. The opposite of pleasure is pain. I'm going to tell you exactly how to get through this Venus retrograde. I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. A lot of this Venus retrograde is through the first part of Aries. So the first thing you're going to do to get through this is decide that you're going to get through it, no matter what. It is going to get hard. You are going to be tested. Especially if you're a Venus-ruled person or you're in a Venus-ruled year. I'm unfortunately both right now. You are going to get through this triumphantly. You're going to get through it no matter what. If you decide right now that you're going to get through it, then you will get what you want in the end. I might be giving myself a pep talk. The next thing you're going to do, gather everything you'll need. One thing you're going to need by the end of this is to know what you want. So whatever tools you have to figure out exactly what you want, desire work is some of the most important work you can do in life. And if you take the time, even if you start right now, in 5 years, you might still feel like you don't know what you want, but you will have come so far. So if you start right this minute, doing the work of desire, what is it that you want? Is it something that is dependent on external validation? Is it something deep inside you that's seeking the extreme opposite of some kind of trauma? You have to be able to filter through those things to figure out what you really want, because the word desire comes from a root, desidere. It means of the stars. This word implies that what you want comes from God, and you want it for a reason. You're supposed to go and take it. And if you find out just like a fraction of one thing that could be in your life, then when Venus moves back into Aries on April 30th, go forth and take it. Another thing in your toolkit you're going to need is your mettle. That's M-E-T-T-L-E. You can't just buckle when things start to go wrong. You gotta take it like a man. This is a time of masculine magic, even for Venus. It's actually not a good time for ritual magic of any kind if you're into that. So instead, prayer. 1, your true desires. 2, mettle, your resilience in the face of conflict. It's gonna be a pain in the ass to get along with people. You're gonna go it alone. There might even be people who are attracted to you because you've decided to go it alone, and you gotta stick to it. Or if you do accept someone to come along with you on your journey, do it with a light hand and a raised eyebrow. Those are the main things you need. You need to figure out exactly what you want over this time and what you don't want. Venus retrograde will help you. She will present to you things you used to like that you now gives you the ick, and maybe things you forgot about that you really love. And you're going to observe and respect the quality of the time. That's number 3. Venus is retrograde right now, so you decided you're going to get through it. You're working on what you want. You're being resilient. So you just have to understand that you're not doing it wrong. This is what time it is. It's time for to wince and not feel good. So you are not a failure. Have mercy on people in your life. Go watch that. This will be number 4. Go watch that video called You Will Marry the Wrong Person. It's like a Google talk. I talked about it in my video last week. One of the things they say, it's such a good video, so just go watch the whole thing. That's the number 4 thing you'll need, is that. One of the most impactful things from that video that I remember is that love is giving someone else the charity of understanding where they're coming from. So if someone is being mean to you, if you are being kicked out of a partnership of any kind, try to understand where that person is coming from and have compassion for them. Even if they don't appreciate it, show aggressively, ferociously, and that might be painful on the inside. Observe the quality of the time. This is Venus retrograde through Aries. I'll go through the timeline to give you more of an understanding of what is happening when. But now through March 27th, Venus is retrograde in Aries. So all the fighting, Mars, dirty, conflict, hurting stuff happens then. And then we get Venus retrogrades back into Pisces, where she will station direct on her degree of exaltation, which is very interesting, going from a sign she does very bad in, very poorly in, to a sign that she does the best in. There is a lot of potential for happy ending here. March 27th through April 12th, that's a little different. It's more bittersweet. It's more like you might have things dredged up from your subconscious that you didn't know you want because you're doing this crazy desire work that you don't necessarily want to come to you in real life, but it might. Weird opportunities could be presented to you during this time, March 27th through April 12th. But you're going to wait until after April 12th to make any decisions. Right now, through March 27th, you're going to be pushed to decide, or you might be anxiety, emotionally coerced into feeling so bad that you make a decision. Watch out for that, especially during eclipse season, which I'll get into. So I guess those are the main tools. Desire, resilience, know what time it is. It's not time to feel amazing, and watch You Will Probably Marry the Wrong Person. And World War III is probably going to start. I mean, it's sort of already started. Going back to exactly what to do. Number 1, decide. You're going to get through it. Number 2, know what your arsenal is. It's Aries, so you have an arsenal. It's all those tools I just gave you. And then add your own. If you have other ones that you think would be good, add them in the comments. Share them with everybody else. Number 3, there are some parts of you, some old parts of you that are going to have to burn off. This Venus retrograde in Aries segment, now through March 27th, will show you that. The sooner you let go of what is not serving you, the better. This gives you more space to shine. What are you keeping around you that you think is for protection, but is really dulling your brightness? You're not going to like this part. You might want to backpedal on your decision that you're going to get through this. You might seek old comforts, old pleasures, drugs. I highly encourage you to stay away from recreational drugs. Give up something. Sugar's a really easy one. So, I guess that would be another thing to put in tools. So a 5th tool would be take a behavior that you love, or a dietary intake that you're fond of but is not nutritionally required for you. Put it on the altar. Give it up. Okay, so step 3, you're going to let go of things that don't serve you. That sounds like a spiritual girly trope, but I mean it. You've started to do some work around what you want in a real way. So this should also serve to expose to you what you don't want, but that you've been insisting on having. And again, you're going to be tempted to backpedal on the deal you made with yourself that you're going to get through this in a triumphant manner. This time is bracketed, this time of Venus in detriment is bracketed by Venus in places she does really well. So there's a lot of potential here. Step 4 is you're going to find, after you get rid of stuff that doesn't serve you, after you know what you need, you have your backpack, in a video game, full of important items, items and concepts. You've dropped 1 or 2 things you've figured out for yourself in the chat to tell everybody else. You decided you're going to get through this. Things are going to come up that you didn't know were going to be a thing. There are going to be difficulties that even I can't foresee. And they're going to come after you have maybe hit your breaking point. There's going to be more. It's going to push you to the limit. And these things especially go for you if you're a Venus-ruled person or you're in a Venus-ruled year, or both, like me. You could be the Mars-ruled person in this relationship, being like, "Ooh, get out of here." Also, if you're wondering why I look more disheveled than usual, I am not wearing makeup because it's a Venus retrograde video. Things are going to come up. You're going to like face things that you're like, oh, I need to cut that out of my life. That doesn't feel good, but whatever. This is a time I'm not feeling good. And then more challenges are going to come. After all that, you're going to know exactly what to do. So you're going to make a plan. You have been committed that you're going to get through it. You have taken a deep look at yourself. You have gathered everything you need. You have gotten rid of parts of your life that are like your binky. New shit has come to light. Now you're going to make a plan. At that point, you'll know exactly how to march into battle. So after that, this is the new version of you coming in. It's the new version of everyone's impulse and capacity for accord, love, like attracts like, beauty, delight, pleasure. There's a new version coming in. It has been cleansed. It has been in danger of going away forever, but it has come back twice as strong. If you've done all the icky hard work, you are going out in the world and you are operating in a new way. And then after all that, you're going to pat yourself on the back. It might not have been exactly the ideal, like the dream of how triumphantly you're going to get through this. But even if it's just like 5% of the dream you initially had, even if you're all banged up and exhausted and you just barely clawed yourself over the finish line, you're going to congratulate yourself on a job well done. Then you're going to look back at all the steps. You're going to identify how you committed you're going to get through this. You're going to look at all the different things in your toolkit and see if you need anything different, or see if something in your toolkit was not necessary. You're going to review what you sacrificed. You're going to honor and respect the new challenges that came in that possibly helped you level up in some way after you conquered them. You're going to look at how you might have drawn up your plan differently and look at what worked. It's like you're going to do a post-mortem. Then you'll find that the greatest reward, or like the way you got through this, was just completing these steps. Opposite of pleasure is pain. This is a time about contrast. You'll notice that a lot of figures in the world who are famous, like much beloved, are very high contrast individuals. Their character contains contradictions. That's the nature of this time. So if you embody it fully, there could be quite a lot of magnetism available to you. So now I'm going to go through the timeline, and I'm going to go through like a very vague, basic overview timeline first, and then I'm going to get into the nitty-gritty, and then we'll get into what it means for your sign. So the first part of this retrograde is basically now until March 8th, is Venus hanging around the station degree, which is the very first part of the middle of Aries. You might find that you are trying to like create a world of your own to invite people in. Like when I was assisting a popular yoga class, the teacher of that class told me to prepare the room as if I were having somebody over to my house for a date. Like, make the atmosphere sumptuous. Carefully consider all the details to make everybody comfortable. You might have been doing some version of this, like if it's not to make everybody comfortable, then at least like to make something beautiful, to create a vibe. But that is being put on pause for a moment because you have to go back and deal with some other bullshit. So that's now through March 8th, where it's just like you're slowing down, you're getting something going, and then it just like came to a halt and you gotta go back because you forgot some things. And then March 8th through the 27th, and this contains eclipse season, this will be like the agony and the ecstasy. There's gonna be like a lot of aggression. There's gonna be a lot of like having to succumb to aggression. It's not gonna be anything like a conscious uncoupling. It will be like, I am breaking up with you. And just remember that maybe companionship is a distraction right now. It's time to work on yourself and love yourself and know yourself. And then March 27th through April 12th, be careful what you wish for. Things are gonna be like subconscious slop coming up in like strangely alluring ways, and it's gonna be really weird, and it might be tinged with sadness and limitation. So figure out what you would die for so that after all this you can live for it. So there'll be two segments, or there are actually three segments of Venus in Aries here. February 4th through now is Venus in Aries ruled by Mars retrograding Cancer and ruled by Mars directing Cancer. This version of Venus in Aries is going to be much less fun than later, April 30th through June 5th. That's Venus in Aries ruled by Mars direct in Leo. Much, much funner. much more fun. So this is just the whole timeline. This Venus retrograde period goes all the way back to January 2nd, when Venus entered Pisces, and back to January 18th, the first time Venus conjoined Saturn in Pisces. Stuff that happened specifically around January 18th might come back up in strange ways after March 27th. But more importantly, everything that happened after January 28th is going to come under review. So any new developments in your life that are Venus related, that's when Venus entered shadow. Venus entered the set of degrees that Venus will retrograde back to. On February 1st, Venus conjoined Neptune for 1 out of 3 times. On February 4th, Venus entered Aries, so that's, you could immediately notice a change in tone. Things go from like sweeter and more sumptuous to like a little more gnarly, independent, bombastic. So Venus stationed on March 1st, that's today, if I post this today. On March 11th, Venus will conjoin Mercury, which is in shadow. There's going to be a Mercury retrograde happening during this. I'll make a separate video, but there's going to be a very chaotic time in between eclipses. Mercury is retrograde, Venus is retrograde. It's before the interior conjunctions of both, which are both like, things are headed downhill. So March 11th presents an interesting meeting of the minds, or maybe like a strange, like a quizzical or curious sweetness to upcoming chaos. On March 14th, we have a lunar eclipse in Virgo. So it's a lunar eclipse on the south node in Virgo. That's like material things going away. Lunar eclipses on the south node are particularly about like deprivation or turning away in disgust. So what you don't give up will be taken from you. And on March 15th, Mercury stations retrograde. So after March 15th, this is like rough and chaotic and full of surprises. We are in between eclipses, so it's a 2-week period. It happens twice a year, where there's one eclipse and then 2 weeks later there's another one. And this time is particularly like dark matter. Your actions can turn into entire new realities, and not necessarily in a good way, in a scary way. One thing eclipses do is bring things out into being before you're ready for them. So it's like surprising, upsetting things. And on March 22nd, we finally begin to start to be able to step towards some resolution. We're finally coming out of this horrible journey. We're not home yet, but we're on the way home, and we know it. So March 22nd, that's Venus's conjunction with the sun. So that marks the center of the Venus retrograde. Then March 24th is Mercury's conjunction with the sun. So that's the center of the Mercury retrograde. So after the 24th, things are going to start to move towards resolution. So just hang on tight and do your best till March 24th. I mean, it's still going to be a little crazy after. Now we're revisiting those things that happened in January. On March 27th, Venus retrogrades back into Pisces. Venus left Pisces in early February. Venus will make her second of 3 conjunctions with Neptune. And this is the last conjunction of Venus with Neptune in Pisces. So it's Venus in a very good place, conjoining Neptune. Romantic. Delulu. The next conjunction of Venus with Neptune will be in Aries, which is crazy. That's like a new era. That's something totally different. But this Venus-Neptune conjunction in Pisces on March 27th wraps back in time to the Venus-Neptune conjunction in Pisces back on February 1st. And it happens in between eclipses. So remember I said March 24th was when you're out of the woods? That's not entirely true. You'll be even more out of the woods after March 29th, because then we're no longer in between eclipses. So the time that is most sensitive to changing everything, if you just knock a glass off the table like you're a cat and you just as an experiment, you want to see it fall to the floor and crash, that will upend your reality. On March 30th, this isn't about Venus. Venus is still retrograde, but Neptune moves into Aries. So Venus and Neptune change places. Peculiar. A very strange time that's about the past and the future and war. An era of war. Of romanticizing war and glory and crime. On April 4th, this is also not Venus exactly, but it happens. A part of it happens in a Venus-ruled sign, and the other part of it happens in the sign where Venus is. Venus is about to conjoin Saturn, and Saturn is making its sextile with Uranus. So the last big Saturn-Uranus of aspects was back in like 2021, and that was the Saturn-Uranus square. That's like things, responsibilities coming out of nowhere, things, reality, like breaking and shifting and changing in unexpected ways. And it also corresponds with a lot of civil unrest. April 4th contains, when you look back, you'll see that the time surrounding April 4th contains like some sort of signal for administrative change, how the world will be managed, and how value will be managed, and how stable things will be managed or disrupted. So on April 7th, Venus conjoins Saturn. So this Venus retrograde is a big part of this. Venus rules transiting Uranus currently, and during the Saturn-Uranus aspect, Venus is right there, about to conjoin Saturn. There's something about like war deals for infrastructure and resources, and also the battle to put your wellness on blockchain. Also on April 7th, Mercury stations direct. So the time of like utter, extreme, hopeless feeling chaos is over, and you got through it because you decided that you were going to. April 12th is very interesting. It's the full moon in Libra, so a full moon ruled by Venus, Venus stationing direct. There's some sort of like extreme pinnacle to like moving forward in a new, amazing way. This is the potential for happy ending, and I don't mean it that way. On April 24th, Venus conjoins Saturn in Pisces for the last time. The next time Venus conjoins Saturn, Saturn will be in Aries. It'll be next year. So this is closing down these big outer planets moving through Pisces, but there's still a lot of emphasis on the sign of Pisces because the North Node is transiting Pisces for the next year or so. So this conjunction of Venus with Saturn on April 24th goes back to April 4th, and it also goes all the way back to January 18th. Right after that, on April 26th, Mercury leaves shadow. So Mercury goes through this like much quicker retrograde period where Mercury enters shadow, goes retrograde, stations direct, stops being retrograde, and then leaves the set of degrees that it did all of that in before Venus leaves the set of degrees, because Venus moves slightly slower. So Mercury is out of shadow April 26th. That's like, okay, we're really moving forward. Loose ends are truly being tied up, finally. And on April 27th, we have the dark moon in Taurus. Both the lunations, the full moon and the dark moon in April, are Venus ruled. Venus ruled parts of your life, Libra and Taurus, have undergone major renewal. So now in this like dark moon in Taurus, absolutely out of eclipse season now, you can really evaluate that area of life and decide what you want to get going after everything that's happened. And on April 30th, Venus moves back into Aries. So we go back into this like decide era, this cutting off of possibilities. Libra, one of the signs that Venus rules, is classically bad at making decisions. Aries is the opposite. Aries is like, the word decide comes from a root word meaning to cut. It's like to cut off possibilities, to fork the timeline. You can't have everything. You have to decide on something. And it might even be like, oh, you weathered the storm back in March. Maybe this is the real breakup, and it feels good, or it feels right if it doesn't feel good. On May 2nd, Venus makes her third of 3 conjunctions with Neptune, and this time it's Venus and Neptune in Aries. This is very different. This is going to show how we've grown, or at least like how our delusions or our fantasies have changed. This conjunction of Venus with Neptune on May 2nd connects back to the Venus-Neptune conjunctions on March 27th and February 1st. But the March 27th and February 1st conjunctions of Venus with Neptune were in Pisces. So this one on May 2nd, it's very different. It's like the same story, but a really jarring and strange, very, very different ending. On May 15th, right after the full moon in Scorpio, Venus leaves shadow. May 24th, Saturn enters Aries. June 5th, Venus enters Taurus, where she's again in very good condition. So this is a long story. It takes almost the entire spring, and everything will have changed when we're through with this. So if you are a Pisces sun, Pisces rising, if you were born at night and you have a Pisces moon, Venus is going to retrograde through your 2nd house of material resources that support you, income that you earn for yourself, and your material possessions. So it's like your money. This has something to do with your money. And Venus is going to retrograde through your 1st house of your body, yourself, your health, your presence in the world. It's like your operating system. Like, what is your operating system skinned with? It's your appearance, your body, your health, yourself. So those are the areas of life that are going to be directly affected, but what happens to the planet happens to the house. So Venus in your chart, if you're a Pisces person, rules your third house, and that's like your schedule, your daily rituals, your neighborhood, your neighbors, your siblings, aunts and uncles, short distance travel and deliveries. And Venus also rules your 8th house of shared resources. So that's joint bank accounts, debt, taxes, inheritance, any resources that are shared, anything that is not money, that's something else that's shared. It's like your access to other people's stuff. But it's also stuff going on. It's like other people's problems and entanglements. The 8th house is also the place of death. So depending on your chart and what's going on in your life, that doesn't mean you're going to die. It means something related to matters of death. And you can see how like inheritance, taxes, shared resources, your body is, you're going to have to repay the debt of your body. Your body is borrowed from the earth. Resources shared with the earth. And it will also have something to do, this Venus retrograde, with whatever house and sign Venus is in your chart. So I don't know where that is. And if you don't know where that is, I still have a free course on voyage.earth, my website, on how to read your own chart. And I really, truly am, very soon, I'm going to take it down. Aries, Venus is going to retrograde through your first house. That's your body, yourself, your operating system, your health, how you conduct yourself, your appearance. And Venus will also retrograde through your 12th house. That's like the deep, dark recesses of your mind. It has to do with confinement and solitude, whether that's voluntary or involuntary. So that could be like hermitage, retreat, intentional retreat, or it can be like prison or hospital. The 12th house can be like downtime, chosen or imposed upon you. And it's also self-sabotage. It's people who undermine you and how you undermine yourself. It's a place of secret enemies. Sometimes that's not really about you. It's just like people are trying to do things in the world that like your whole trajectory is working against them. And so they undermine you somehow and you don't know it. How this ends up pertaining to Venus, a lot of times, if Venus is in the 12th, that could be an infidelity situation, whether it's you or someone else. But Venus rules your 7th house, so I would not get paranoid, but just know that that is a possibility. So like I said, Venus rules your 7th house of one-on-one relationships. If you're married, it's that person. This time has to do with that person. And it also rules your money. So income that you earn for yourself and your stuff. And the 2nd house also, I meant to say this for Pisces too, it has to do with food. Put this back in Pisces. The 2nd house is also food that you eat. That's like primary material to support your life. Like you have money so you can buy food. Back to Aries. So Venus rules your 2nd house. That's your money, your stuff, food you eat. And your 7th house of one-on-one relationships. This can, if you're not married, it's like, it could be like who you're dating. And whether you're married or not, it can also just have to do with like people in your life that you have a close one-on-one relationship with. And it'll depend on where Venus is in your chart too. That'll have to do with like where this ends up being expressed most readily, all of it. Taurus, Venus will retrograde through your 12th house of solitude, solitary confinement, chosen or unchosen, meditative states, the deep dark recesses of your mind, how you're undermined, self-sabotage, prisons, hospitals, or intentional retreat, downtime. Venus in the 12th sometimes has something to do with infidelity. And when Venus is in Pisces, that'll be in your 11th house. That's your colleagues, your audience, groups of friends, your list of followers, and alliances. And what happens to the planet happens to the house. So this time is going to have an effect on your immune system and things that need to get done, like upkeep and admin, brushing your teeth, paying the bills. It also has something to do with pets, if you have pets, and or employment, you as an employee, or if you have employees. It's like your overall life hygiene, your immune system, the immune system of your life that pertains to like admin and like keeping things running, and employment and pets. And Venus rules your 1st house of self, your operating system, your presence in the world, your physical body, your appearance, and your health. With Venus ruling your 1st and your 6th, there's something, and Venus is retrograding through your 12th. Something is up with your health. Gemini, Venus is going to retrograde through your 11th and 10th houses. So The Aries part that I've been talking about, that'll be your 11th house of colleagues, how you're like embattled when it comes to, it's always like war with all your friends. The 11th house is like your audience, it's colleagues, it's like professional colleagues, not just like people you work with at your job at Taco Bell. It's like in like professional alliances, groups of friends, political alliances, your list of followers. And the Pisces part will be your career and professional life. So this is different from like your job at Taco Bell, because the 10th house is like, it's like things, jobs you do that grant status, what you're known for, what you have to give to the world, what you have to give to humanity. Something is up with your profession. And what happens to the planet happens to the house. So the following parts of your life are going to be affected by this retrograde. Your 12th house, deep meditative states, self-sabotage, confinement, hospitals, prisons, meditation, hidden enemies, downtime, chosen or not chosen, or madness. And your 5th house of fun. It's like fun, romance, sex, pleasure, pregnancy, children, things having to do with children, either your own or just children in general. You can see how like play has to do with that. And then it also has to do with the actions that create children. So your 5th and 12th rulers are connected. Sometimes like having fun, you can get in trouble by having too much fun. And this time we'll point to that, and it might make it kind of public. And it also has to do with whatever part of life Venus is connected to in your chart. And if you don't know where that is, I have a free course on how to read your own chart. Cancer, Venus will retrograde through your 10th house, so that's your career and professional life, the work that you do in the world that grants status, what you give to humanity, what you're known for, what's most public. This is going to play out publicly. And your 9th house of philosophy, religion, spirituality, university and academia, and foreigners and foreigner long distance travel. And what happens to the planet happens to the house. So Venus in your chart is connected to your home, family, and private life, your relationship with your parents and ancestors, and your 11th house of colleagues, alliances, politics, friend groups, your list of followers. And it also has something to do with wherever Venus is in your chart. And if you don't know where it is, I still have a free course on my website, voyage.earth. Leo, Venus will retrograde through your 9th and 8th houses. So your 9th house is like religion, spirituality, academic study, long distance travel, foreigners, and your 8th house of shared accounts, shared resources, debt, taxes, inheritance, other people's money, entanglements, collaborations. It's also the place of death. That doesn't mean you're going to die or someone's going to die, but that is the 8th house signifies death. And you can see that from the connection to things that are inevitable, like taxes, or its connection to inheritance. There has to be a death that happens, or shared resources, because your body is a resource that you share with the earth, and you don't get to keep it. And so Venus rules your 10th house and 3rd house. So the following parts of your life, even though this isn't like playing out directly in them, they're going to be affected because what happens to the planet happens to the house. So it's your 3rd house of schedule. You might find that your schedule's all over the place. Daily rituals, your neighborhood, your neighbors, siblings, the people who work at the gas station on your way to work, people who work at the coffee shop, brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, short distance travel and deliveries, and divine feminism. And Venus also rules your 10th house. So a part of this is going to play out publicly. It's like what is most apparent. The 10th house is your professional life. It's work that you do in the world, what you give to humanity, work that you do that grants status. This will also have to do with wherever Venus is in your chart. If you don't know where Venus is in your chart, I have a free course. It's very long. I'm going to get rid of it. At voyage.earth. Virgo, Venus will retrograde through your 8th house of shared resources, entanglements, collaborations, death, debt, taxes, shared bank accounts, other people's money, other people's problems, stuff going on that you share with other people, and your 7th house of one-on-one relationships. So this is particularly like, it has to do with like someone else and what you share with them. So that's really complicated. because it's hard, like, it's hard to break up with someone or to have someone break up with you when you share a bunch of stuff, and then you gotta like divide all this stuff. And like, what if you have a pet together? That it could be super complicated, or it could like threaten to be super complicated. And other areas of life that are going to be affected, because what happens to the planet Venus happens to the places that Venus rules in your life. Your just overall worldview, your religion, spirituality, academic study, might have to do with university, long distance travel, foreigners, foreign travel, and money, income that you earn for yourself. Also food and your material possessions. And this will also have something to do with wherever Venus is in your chart, which I don't know where that is. And if you don't know where that is, I have a free course on how to read your own chart. It's at voyage.earth. And I'm going to take it down soon. And it's also really long, but if you just watch the first few, you can see how to look up your chart and exactly like how to tell what is where. Libra, lucky you. Venus will retrograde through your 7th house of one-on-one relationships and your 6th house of pets, employment and employees, your immune system, things that require regular cleaning and hygiene, upkeep and admin, and whatever happens to the planet happens to the house. So the following parts in your life are going to be affected. Your 1st house of self, your body, your appearance, your operating system, your presence in the world. And your 8th house of shared resources, entanglements, debt, death, taxes, collaborations, other people's money, shared bank accounts, drama. And it also has something to do with wherever Venus is in your natal chart. I don't know where that is. If you don't know where that is, I have a free course on my site, voyage.earth, how to read your own chart. It's really long, but if you just watch the first few, you'll learn how to look up your chart. Scorpio, you are going to do the cutting, probably. Venus is going to retrograde through your 6th house and your 5th house. So it's going to be like your immune system, upkeep and admin, boring work stuff, paperwork, employment, employees, pets. And your 5th house of romance, sex, pleasure, having fun, making art, stuff to do with children, either pregnancy and your own children or other people's children, children in general. And whatever happens to the planet happens to the house. So wherever Venus is in your chart, plus Venus rules your 7th and 12th houses. So that's one-on-one relationships. If you're married, it's that person. Whether you're married or not, it's also just like close one-on-one relationships. And your 12th house. So a lot of your one-on-one relationships could be with people who undermine you, or you could just be suspicious of them undermining you because you're Scorpio and you're always wondering how people are going to fuck you over. But there is like, I don't know, your 12th ruler retrograding through your 5th house. There could be like some sort of infidelity signature. It might be like you doing that and hurting someone, like you taking advantage of some sort of fun, opportunity with someone else and that hurting like the person that you're actually with. Sagittarius, Venus is going to retrograde through your 5th and 4th houses. So there's something having to do with fun, creativity, pregnancy, romance, having fun, sexual expression, pleasure, just whatever's fun to you. Children, your own, or just children in general. You could see the stack of 5th house things. It's like either play that is childlike naturally, or like behaviors that produce children. And your 4th house of home, family, and private life. So if you like have kids, there's something going on with like your kids and at home. And Venus rules your 6th and 11th houses. So this is like, it always has something to do with your audience, groups of friends, politics, your followers, colleagues, alliances, and work, like employment. This is like the job that you go to. So the place where you are an employee. And it's also the place where you just need to like get daily things done, like upkeep and admin. It's also your immune system. So again, the suggestion that you give up pleasures, like give up sugar, that is a great idea for you. Venus rules your 6th house. That suggests that like illnesses can like come from indulgences. And the 6th house is also the place of pets. So this time will have something to do with all of that. Pets, upkeep and admin, and groups of friends, colleagues, audience. And wherever Venus is in your chart, and if you don't know where that is, there's a free course on my website, how to read your own chart. Capricorn, Venus will retrograde through your 4th house. So this will be going down in your private life. Home, family, something you do with your parents, ancestors. 4th is the opposite of the 10th, so it's hidden. It's like your private life. Maybe not in the tabloids, except that it will also be retrograding through your 3rd house. And that's, for 3rd house, I always think gossip. But the 3rd house is your schedule, daily rituals, neighbors, just the general like communication and people around you. It's like the buzz about town, the tea, and siblings if you have them, aunts and uncles, short distance travel and deliveries. And Venus rules your 5th house of romance, sex, pleasure, having fun, making art, doing whatever you want, and your 10th house of career. So this is likely, part of this is likely to play out publicly, even though it's happening in your home and private life. It might affect how you show up professionally. Just be prepared for that. Know that you're not doing something wrong. Like, this is just a time when stuff at home is going to affect how you show up professionally. As long as you know that that's happening, then you can be like, okay, well, this is this time and it will be over at this time. So it's not going to be forever. And it also has something to do with wherever Venus is in your chart. I don't know where that is, but I have a free course on my website about how to read your own chart. Aquarius. Venus is going to retrograde through your 3rd house and your 2nd house. So this is going to have to do with like communication, your neighborhood, schedule, daily rituals, the guy who works at the coffee shop, your siblings, gossip, short distance communication and deliveries, siblings and aunts and uncles, and your money, income that you earn for yourself, food that you eat, material possessions. And Venus rules. So what happens to the planet happens to the house. The other areas of your life that are going to be affected by this are your home, family, and private life, your relationship with your parents and ancestors, and your world outlook, religion, spirituality, academia, university, long-distance travel, foreigners, and it also has something to do with wherever Venus is in your chart. And if you don't know where that is, I can show you how to look it up in the first part of the free course that I have on my website, How to Read Your Own Chart. Thanks for watching. Good luck. Don't get scared. Commit to getting through this triumphantly.